Extra Mile. A fun and informative companion piece to go with this week's episode, which it may be best to listen to first.
Oh, yawn o'clock. Oh, cripes. That was a bit of a mission, that one. So, before we get started, you're probably were listening to the first part and going, hang on, what's going on? Where's Extra Mile? And now you're like, hang on, why is it in a separate thing? Okay, so this is what's going on. I've been meaning to do this for absolutely ages. What I've wanted to do for a long time is have kind of a mid-section cliffhanger on the main part of Murder Mile. Also, there's quite a few people, I know a lot of people like Extra Mile, but some people don't like Extra Mile, and some people go, oh, why do I have to listen to an extra half an hour? I don't like listening to it. So what I decided to do was split it into half. Therefore, I can have the mid-section cliffhanger. You have a bit of a break. It gives you a bit of a, I wonder what's going to happen. You can't wait to come back. That's what I wanted to do. And then with Extra Mile, do you know what? I hate when podcasts are over an hour long. Do you know sometimes you look at them and you just go, oh, an hour and 10. Oh, God. Whereas if it's under an hour, it doesn't seem so bad. So, and that's always the thing with Extra Mile. I'm always looking at the clock thinking, I don't want it to be longer than half an hour. It needs to be less. So, that way, by splitting it in half, you can listen to part 1 and then you can listen to part 2 with Extra Mile whenever you like. And also, if I overrun, not really a problem, is it? It doesn't really a problem for me. Also, and let's be honest as well, it means I can get more adverts in as well, which is better for money because times are difficult at the moment, especially podcasting. Revenue is grossly down, but also hopefully it gets me up the charts as well, back up the charts. Because I was saying to a friend the other day, when I started podcasting almost 7 years ago, in the top 100 true crime charts, there were 95 independent true crime podcasters, so people like me who do it from their bedroom, and 5 were the corporates, Wonderies, people like that. Now it's all changed. Now it's entirely different. Now you're lucky if you can find 5 independent podcasters in there. Most of them are by Wondery or Spotify studios, or all that, or YouTubers who are successful there, and then have kind of taken the audio and put it on a podcast, and now they're kind of getting extra money through that. So, which is fine if that's what they want to do, but it makes life really difficult which is why you're losing a lot of independent podcasts at the moment. There's a lot who are quitting because it's hard work. They're not making the money. They just can't do it anymore. So, yeah. So, I'm hoping to keep going. So this is just a way of doing it, a way of pushing it forward. So, so that's it. So, still the same old Extra Mile. I'm going to add in a couple of extra pieces as well, so we can have some fun. But it just means I don't have to push and worry about this one. So, don't forget, we've got, if you're new to Extra Mile, don't forget this is the normally unscripted, unedited bit. We have some fun, we do some quiz questions, I've got some extra stuff coming in. I say thank you to the Patreon subscribers, some new Patreon subscribers. Thank you, Millie Miller. And thank you, Rod Ward Horner. So thank you, Millie Miller. Thank you, Rod Ward Horner. Thank you so much for becoming Patreon subscribers. Don't forget, if you love Extra Mile and all the extra stuff that goes with it, on Patreon for just $3 a month. $3 a month. Bargain. Loads of stuff. You get video, you get crime scene photos, you get the script that comes with it. Also, I've started doing bad nanometers, which is sometimes I give you statements here, as I've done in this episode, I read the statements. Over there, I can do it in full. I do the full statements. I do the full autopsy reports. And, it gives you a kind of more of an in-depth into the episodes, the story itself. So if you enjoy that, give it a go. Just to say, we got some shows coming up soon. I've mentioned these before. There'll be links in the show notes. 3rd of June at the Glee Club in Birmingham. And 2nd of June, so that's a Sunday, at the Customs House in South Shields. We're doing a show called Murder Ain't Easy. It's me and Adam from UK True Crime, Paul from True Crime Enthusiast, we're doing that. So if it goes well, we'll do other dates. If it doesn't go well, we won't. But unfortunately, it's a Sunday and a Monday. We later found out it's because Adam's anniversary, his wedding anniversary, is the Saturday. So I did say, why can't we have it on a Friday and a Saturday? And he was, oh, can't do that date. So we've had to do Sunday and a Monday. And I know Monday's a terrible day to do a night out, but if you're free, please do come along. We have something prepped for September in Sheffield. We're doing the True Crime Convention. It's a new thing. I'm not advertising it just yet, only because I'm waiting. I'm helping the guy who's running it to sort out the payment thing, because he had a really bafflingly shit system before, where you have to go to an obscure page on his website, and it says, if you're interested in this, email me to register, and then you email them, and then he emails you back his PayPal account, and then you send him some money, then he emails you back a confirmation that he's received it with some details. It's just bullshit. So I'm building him a little payment thing, so you can go on and go to anywhere and just buy tickets, and it takes you like 3 clicks, and it's secure as well, rather than sending someone your payment details. So hang on for that a minute. What else is good? Cake update. Even though I'm on a diet again, I thought I'd do a cake update, because I haven't done cake updates in ages. So this is, even though I'm on a strict diet at the moment, because I turned into a big old blubbery thing, a big old wobbly fat thing, because I'd like to say because I got sick for the last 5 months, but let's be honest, it's because I'm a big fat blubbery eating food kind of thing, and Eva likes me to be big and blubbery, so there we go. So I'm going to put back in my cake update. So cake of the week this week is one of my favourites. Oh dear, the vanilla slice. You have to go into kind of the frozen section, which I normally wouldn't go to in the supermarket, but it's so what it is, it's an Austrian pastry. What you have is 2 very fine layers of puff pastry, so it's not that kind of spongy, horrible, cheap puff pastry where you bite into it and you go, oh, lovely. It's 98% air. This is that nice, fine kind of puff pastry that's a little bit crumbly, but it's not hugely crumbly. There's two rectangles of that, and then in the middle is, this is 90% of it, which is great. 95% of it is like a block of vanilla cream custard, which stands there. It holds its own weight, and you can wobble it, and it's really delicious. And then on top of it is a very fine layer of icing. So not icing powder, but kind of a nice icing with a kind of a crisscrossing on top. And it's really nice, and you can hold it in your hand. And it's too big, almost too big to go into your mouth. But when you bite into it, all the kind of vanilla cream bursts out, so you have to make a decision when you're there. Normally I split it into half and eat the bottom bit first with almost no custard on it, and then I turn around and I have the top bit, and oh god, it's delicious. God, it's good. And I think it's at like 500 calories a piece, so I won't be having one of those for a bloody long time, especially because when you get them at supermarkets, they do them in packs of 2, thinking that, you know, you're going to give it to the person you love. But let's be honest, if you buy a 2-pack of vanilla slices, you're going to pig them out by yourself, aren't you? It's just a way to do it, because it's delicious. It's delicious. It's bloody lovely, delicious. Yum, yum, yum. Get in my big fat belly. God, I want one now. I'm fed up with carrots and shit. Carrots and shit can blow. Although do you know what? Almost 2 years on, I'm still having my homemade veggie kebabs every night. Still having them. Only I've swapped out the some of the veggie meat for carrots, just because it's a little bit cheaper, but because it fills you up a bit more and it's got a bit more nutrient in there. There you go. That's my health tip for the day. You're welcome. I'm having a herbal tea as well. Try to be really good. Coot update. You'd be delighted to know it's breeding season. You probably can't hear anything at the moment because I have my curtains closed. But it's been pissing down, absolutely pissing down today. It's bank holiday Monday today, and normally I wouldn't record on a bank holiday Monday because people are moving their boats on a bank holiday Monday. And also it's pissing down, but I found a little window of time where I could record this, and it's in between people moving their boats, so I've literally had to stop and start, and then it pissed down at the end. So I may do my usual trick of, if I've been recording and I can do a re-record, but I have to recharge the batteries on the laptop. It's not as simple as it sounds. Yeah. And actually, I thought it sounded good, so I might just add the sound of rain to the end of the podcast. That's normally my old trick. If it's pissed down during the recording, I add the sound of rain on top, so no one really notices it. But I carefully edit it out as well. So that's good. But yeah, no, outside, coots are out there. Because the new baby coots are out, they're really funny, because like coots are quite nice and elegant, but the baby coots are they're not quite tennis ball sized, probably smaller than a tennis ball, but black and spiky with a big red spiky bit on top of their head, and they're like spiky balls. They're really funny. You see them swimming around and they're really, really funny. They really are. So they're worth having a look at. What else is going on? Eva update. Her Majesty is fast asleep as always, as she always is. She was out last night, as she always is. She was out drinking last night, as she always is. It's the weekend. It makes no difference with her. She's just drinking all the time. It's what she does. I don't think she's ever been sober. I wonder. I don't think she has. I've never seen her sober. Maybe she... Yeah. Anyway, she was out last night. I was awoken by a large crash. As always, I'm guessing, I can't prove it. And if Police Constable Arsenal Guinness is listening, I can't prove this either. You can't prove it either, copper. What are you going to do about it, copper? I think she went carjacking last night. Just down from here, I found a Ford Capri, a nice old Ford Capri in the canal. I'm guessing it was her because the windows were smashed in, but they were mostly smashed in with high heel marks. And scraped across, and she'd written, "Fat, bald loser will die if I don't have a cocktail when I get back to the boat." She'd scratched that into the window. Only the spelling was atrocious, as you can predict. Anyway, it looked like she'd used it to ram raid a branch of bargain booze. In the back seat, there were loads of empties, of course. Crates of beer, sambuca, all the usual stuff. Sometimes she doesn't even unscrew the cap. She just bites off the lid, the top of it. And of course, from the crashed Ford Capri, there was kind of a trail of kebab leading from the car back to this boat. So I'm guessing it was her. Also, as always, there was a lot of porn mags and a really weird smell of urine. So probably was her. So she's sleeping it off. Anyway, as always, let's do the quiz questions. We will have more if there's things that you want to be discussed as in disgusting. If you want anything to be discussed, just let me know and we can do it in the new Extra Mile because we've got a bit more time now. So quiz question, we'll do the answers in a bit, and we will do all the extra stuff that you'd expect in Extra Mile as well. So quiz questions, folks. Don't forget, I haven't edited the episode yet, so I may edit bits out. So you may, like last week, I think I edited out at least 3 questions. So if you got 7, you actually got 10, if that makes any sense. If not, don't worry. I scraped through maths, barely. Right, quiz questions. Question number 1. What is the nearest murder to this one on Finborough Road? Sorry, there's a burp coming out then. Question number 2. What was the name of Gertrude's parents? Don't say Mr. and Mrs. Yates. What were their first names? Question number 3. How many convictions did she have for soliciting? Question number 4. What was her street name? So, i.e. not where she was born, but as a prostitute you have a different name, like a stage name. So what was her street name? Question number 5. Ronald was born near which city? Question number 6. Ronald's grandfather did what as a job? Question number 7. Where it is thought... I always do this. Question number 7. Where is it thought he developed his addiction to morphine? That's obviously Ronald, not his grandfather. Question number 8. This one's quite a difficult one. Name one of the 2 trainer aircraft that Ronald trained in. I'll give you a point if you get near to what they were called, or even one word within there. Question number 9. In what company was he briefly hired as a test pilot? And question number 10. What injury did he get owing to a crash as a test pilot? So there we go. Answer those questions, and we will do the answers to those very shortly. Hang on. Oh shit! Sorry, I thought I'd turn my phone off. It seems to be ringing. Hang on. Sorry, really sorry about that. Hang on. Hello.
Hiya, Acast here.
Oh, hello, Acast. I thought you'd forgotten who I was. I mean, you don't call, you don't write, you haven't invited me to the Christmas party in 4 years. Yeah, right?
Well, Mac.
Mike.
Mac?
It's Mike. Look, never mind. What's your bullshit excuse for ignoring me?
Oh, Mac. We've been so busy here. There's so many celebrities for us to fawn over. You know, famous people on television programs like, and attention-seeking twats on reality TV shite. But mostly out-of-work comedians, recycling old jokes on interview podcasts with other comedian pals because their agents said it would be good for their careers. Whereas we just don't have time for fat, bald, pathetic, small-dicked, Eva-obsessed plebs like you.
Oh well, at least you're honest. So, any chance of you promoting this show?
Promoting a non-celebrity podcast? Do people actually do that? Oh, that's so funny. Oh, you're being serious? No. We'd love to do some actual work for once, but we've just purchased a 600-foot gold-plated donkey, which shits out freshly baked double chocolate muffins and whittles chilled champagne. And once every hour, just to remind us to, take more drugs. It kicks a non-celebrity podcaster in the arse, which makes us laugh loads. That's a point. Are you free today, by the way?
No, I'm not. But just tell me this. Will I get a new advert in this upcoming break? Or will it be an advert that we've heard about 1 billion bloody times before?
Oh, well. Let's just see what Santa brings, shall we?
It's May.
Yeah, like I said. Let's see what Santa brings.
Utter bastards. So, folks, welcome back. We're going to pile on with Extra Mile. Whoa! Right. This episode I've known about for a long time. Even though there's bits and pieces, you may have heard it elsewhere here and there. I always wanted to get access to the original court records, the police files, which are in the National Archives. I was just searching for a moment when I could go and find them. And they were fascinating. They were really interesting. It's just nice to dive into all of the witness statements and piece everything together, and you get all the little nuggets that you think, oh, that's what that means. So that's what I love. So what I'm going to do, there was bits and pieces. There was so much. Originally, there was so much in this. I thought, is this worth doing a two-parter? But what you need for a two-parter is you need two kind of exciting things to happen. And here, kind of murder happens. And even though Ronald's back history is really fascinating, it wasn't enough for that to be part one and then the murder in part two. So I decided to make it a one-parter, which meant I had to leave a lot out. So Gertrude's mother. So this was only a couple of months before. Gertrude, obviously her father had died a couple of years ago. She got a brother who she hadn't seen for about 17 years. And her mother, about 6 months prior to her murder, left to go to New Zealand. So with Gertrude, she actually left quite a few things, including a half-hoop diamond ring, a half-hoop ruby and diamond ring, an 18-carat signet ring with GY on it. So that's obviously Gertrude's ring. Loads of different things, kind of fur coats, stuff like that, all stuffed into a a suitcase. So quite a few of these things that were stolen were Gertrude's property, but also were her mother's property as well. So it looked like over the years, when Gertrude was doing well in as a call girl, she was helping her mother out, and her mother had got some nice things as well. Some of Gertrude's property was a diamond 1-carat ring set in platinum, value £50. It sounds cheap today, but it wasn't back then. So that'd be about $5,500. And an 18-carat watch with a black ribbon strap and a wedding ring in 18-carat. Gertrude moved into the property, the basement flat at 13 Finborough Road in Fulham, December 1920. So she'd been there about 15 months. She lived alone. It was only a small flat, but it was affordable. It was all self-contained. And that's kind of key for 1920s, is that, don't forget, if you're relatively poor, you're not going to have a kind of a kitchen inside your house, and you're not going to have a toilet inside your house. But here, she has kind of a scullery. There's a bit of a hob there. She's got a bathroom. Obviously, the toilet is separate, and that's out back. So, it's all self-contained. It's a nice little flat, to be honest. She also had a maid, as we've seen before. There's different titles for kind of the maid. Sometimes a maid can be just a woman who comes in and cleans the place, and as you'd expect from a maid, and kind of attends to her needs. But also, because she is a sex worker as well, it may be that it's hard to tell, because Emily is she gives quite kind of a vague reference, and I think the reason is it's nothing. She's not anything to do with the murder. I think it's because she can just turn around and say, I'm the maid, I do the cooking and the cleaning, and that's it, and then I leave. But if she says, sometimes I greet in the guests, that implicates her in prostitution. So some of her statements are quite vague. Ronald's, I was going to put this in the episode, but I didn't. Ronald's stepfather died 9th of May 1915. So it's in and around the time that he's having his, inverted commas, his air accidents that he doesn't seem to have, which we'll dive into in a bit. His stepfather was in the 3rd Battalion, attached to the 1st Battalion of the Southwest Borderers. He died 9th of May 1915 on the Western Front, having joined the British Army right at the outset of the First World War. So even though he's an aristocrat, and he's worth lots of money and all that, and he's I think he's 4th Baron Dufresne on this. He's doing his bit. He's going off. He's fighting for his country, and he was buried in Cabaret Rouge British Cemetery, just outside Pas de Calais. So he's had a fascinating life, and I think that's what was interesting when I was going through his back history. I was looking at this going, oh, Ronald's had a fascinating life, because he says, I've done this, I've done that. But then it was only when I pieced the bits together, I realised, oh, he hasn't had an interesting life at all. That's his stepfather's life, and he's just using it as his. Because don't forget, nowadays, you go online, you check what someone's doing. And most of the time, especially with social media, people's accounts are open, and you can just dive in and have a look. People post all manner of shit about themselves, so you can check. A lot of employers now do that, or they have companies that can physically do that, and even the British Tax Office now does that as well. They when you say, oh, I went overseas because I had a business meeting and it was really important, and then they see pictures of you sitting on the beach soaking up the sun, they go, oh, that doesn't seem to be a business meeting, and that's what they do now. So obviously it was a lot more different in the 1910s and 1920s. You kind of had to take people's word on it, as happened with the Royal Flying Corps. So he applied for a commission 25th of August 1915, which is the start of World War One, so first year in. His commission paperwork said that he'd been employed in the Chinese customs and served 14 months in the Mexican army as an aviator and a cavalryman, and 2.5 years in the Northwest Mounted Police, and was wounded in the right leg in Mexico in 1913. So that's why he says that he has a limp in his right leg. But obviously, as we'll find out in a bit, it wasn't because he was shot. It was because of syphilis. Dirty little boy. Obviously, they didn't verify this. It was all, it's a gentleman's word. A gentleman never lies. As we know, do you know, a gentleman, a doctor, a politician, they never lie. They're the most honest people in the world. So it's interesting that when you used to get your passport, I've mentioned this before, when you used to get your passports done in Britain, you had to get a respectable member of the community to sign it off for you, which was either a priest, a politician, or a doctor. That has gone now. No longer does that happen. So yeah, he was given his commission 10th of October 1916 as a flying officer. What else we got? He did his training in and around Gosport in Hampshire. Even though his performance rates him as substandard, everyone said that he wasn't very focused. He seemed to be all over the shop. What else we got? First crash that he said to have had was his first solo cross-country trial flight in Farnborough, and that was in February 1916, of which he suffered severe concussion and remained unconscious for 2 days. Then the next month, see, it's interesting that he would claim to have all these accidents, which never happened, and then that would be the reason for him to get booted out of the Royal Flying Corps, even though they never happened. It's really weird. So he was declared June 1916. He was declared unfit to fly, and ordered to relinquish his commission, which he did on the 4th of August. So, but apparently he says he continued instructional flying at Brooklands. So Brooklands was kind of a racetrack, but it was also a kind of a flying track as well. In Brooklands, they used to have the early kind of the race cars going there, the really dangerous stuff where it wasn't really a motorbike and it wasn't quite a car, but you would sit on top of the car and your only protection was to wear like as they would here, the helmet would be like a leather helmet, and that would be it. That would be your protection. Good luck. Obviously, in and around this point, he collapsed. He was hospitalised and sent to Southsea. Having contracted, when he was there, they said that he'd contracted syphilis. So he was actually at Cambridge Hospital in Aldershot there, and that's when they said he had a brain contusion. And even there on his records, it says it is not due to an air accident. 19th of March 1916 at Alexandra Military Hospital in Cosham, he was diagnosed with gonorrhea and syphilis, and was transferred to a convalescent home in Southsea, July 1916. Medical board said the findings were he had gonorrhea with arthritis, and he is, at that point they said he's not fit for duty within a period of at least 3 months, but upon re-examination they said he suffered from obstinate gonorrheal rheumatism, complicated with an old syphilis infection. Oh, lovely. He is now emaciated and anemic, permanently unfit for general service, disability contracted in the service but not caused or aggravated by military service. And as mentioned, it's few people actually mention it anyway. It's just in a small part of his record, but it does state no record of crashes. And even though he would go on to say that he was a major, he wasn't. He was a second lieutenant, and a second lieutenant is nowhere near a major at all. He didn't serve overseas. He didn't have any dogfights. All these kind of amazing things that he said he didn't do any of them at all. He didn't go overseas, didn't have any crash. He had one crash, which is when he was a test pilot. But then again, even I was going to put this in the episode, in that era of kind of aviation, even in the Royal Flying Corps, like their first fatality, I think I read was 1912, and they had a gentleman who was flying and the aircraft failed and he crashed and died, and the order then was given, it doesn't matter that he's dead, I want all the planes back up in the air by this evening. So and that's the kind of the mentality they had. I took this out of the episode because it slowed it down, but it was about his wife. So he, believe it or not, he was married. A young actress called Frances Roberts. He met her at a party in New York. He went over to New York and if I remember correctly, there was a lot of thefts going on, a lot of things being stolen, and it was all down to him. He introduced himself, said that he was a Royal Flying Corps pilot. They married before he moved to Houston, Planet Houston, as they say in Superman 2. And they travelled across America together. She came back with him to England. He needed to get a job, so even though he was struggling to get a job, like apparently I've got it written somewhere. He went to America and he said, "Oh, I've been a fighter pilot in Britain, and I'm a test pilot." And they tried him out, and apparently he was absolutely shit. And they were like, "No way, we're gonna have you as a fighter pilot or a training pilot for us." So even in a country where he wasn't known, they couldn't hire him anywhere. So his family managed to secure him a job as an assistant manager at the Taka Mining Company, which is in the Gold Coast, which is now Ghana. Apparently he landed in Fort Secondi, which is now known as Fort George, an English fort on the Gold Coast in Ghana. That was kind of early 1919 with his wife. Although some people say it was the Fantis Consolidated Mines Limited, and he began working there. Everyone said that he was inefficient. In and around that time, his wife was pregnant, and the report says it was generally considered that he was a drug fiend. And there were loads of witness statements in there by people who worked with him, just said, he's absolutely useless. He's on drugs all the time. He's absolutely terrible. So he and his pregnant wife set sail for there in and around February. He's a habitual liar. He's in bad condition as well. He's having kind of affairs and visiting prostitutes while he was out there. And therefore he was dismissed from the job. So he returned back to the UK. And when he came back to the UK, his wife had insisted that he goes back into Southsea where he was. It was a nursing home, really just a convalescence home for kind of drug addicts. And he was sent there for approximately 6 months for his morphine addiction, which obviously was exacerbating his kind of mental health ailments. And it was there he was diagnosed with split personality. Sorry, I burped when I was trying to say that. Another hiccup burp then. Around the same time, his morphine intake had increased to 30 grams. So, because of the pain he was suffering, he was being given, I've got it, I think it's 65 milligrams of morphine per grain. And he was on 30 grains, so that was 1,950 milligrams of morphine per day. And doctors would say, that really you should be taking no more than 30 to 50 milligrams every 4 hours, which is what he's meant to be doing. But he's just taking a shitload throughout the day, constantly. So even with that, they said it was amazing he was still alive. But yeah, he was diagnosed with a dissociative identity disorder. Don't forget, this is the kind of the early days of psychiatry. So all these things, even though I think we tend to think that this is all a modern thing, but it's not. It's been around for quite a while. So yeah, he was down at Southsea. He was an inpatient at a nursing home to cure him of his morphine addiction, because they were hoping that this would kind of help with his mental health illnesses as well. We don't really know where they come from. We don't know whether this is a birth thing or an early days childhood thing, or whether it's something in the family. Not a lot was really discussed about his family in here, which was a real pain. As mentioned, late 1921, he abandoned his wife, removing both of them as beneficiaries of his will, after learning that his wife had reassumed her acting career. So he's really upset with her, but obviously she was able to go off and kind of do her own thing and get away from him. With him, she still cared about him. He was just an absolute nightmare. Obviously, he's massively unstable, and the drugs really aren't helping at all. What also didn't help is that upon his discharge from the clinic, he briefly lived with his aunt in Folkestone, and she claimed She claimed to know a series of palmists, so people who look at your palm and go, "Oh, you're going to have a long life," and all crap like that. And one of the palmists informed him that he was to be murdered at the hands of a woman, and that he was only destined to live a short life, and that he should maximise his pleasures. So whether that actually went into his head, we don't know, because he seems to be a man of excesses anyway. He seems to be all about maximising his pleasures. But whether that actually happened at all, because let's not forget, whenever people give statements, it's after the fact. So this could be bullshit. This could be entire crap. But could be true. And could that have exacerbated his kind of mental illness, thinking, oh my god, a woman is going to murder me, and then he's in a room with a woman, and she clearly dislikes him, but she's trying her best to be nice to him. We never know. To protect himself against the other Ronald True, he bought himself a gun. It was a pistol from an acquaintance named James Armstrong, which was the name he used, and said, when he was pretending to be a man seeking out Gertrude and saying, I want to book an appointment with you. No, I'm not. I've changed my mind. He used the name Mr. Armstrong, and that's where he got it from. So he bought a gun for £2. He had another pistol on him as well, which he said he'd bought in Croydon, and it seems to be a starter pistol for aircrafts. But it's weird that he bought the guns, but he never used them. He also, in and around about 2 months before the murder itself, he threatened a female acquaintance who he wanted to keep her company, inverted commas, and she didn't want that, so he threatened to shoot her. We don't really know a lot more about that. There was very little in the kind of the witness statements about that. But what we do know that his wife was incredibly worried about it, even though they'd been split for 2 years now, and she'd gone back to New York. She kept travelling to London to trace his whereabouts. She managed to track him down to a Soho restaurant, and she reported to Scotland Yard that she was really worried about his kind of demeanour and the way he was acting, and everything about him was weird. So she actually paid for a private detective to keep an eye on him and track him down and make sure that he was okay. But by the 3rd of March 1920, he'd vanished. So it's not long before the murder happened, and he disappeared. So there you go, folks. We're just going to do the quiz questions, and then we're done. I hope you enjoyed that. I'm just there's my quiz questions. Look at it, it's still pissing down outside. Oh, what a horrible day. Anyway, let's see how many quiz questions you got. Question number 1. What is the murder to this one on Finborough Road? It was The Woman in Red. So that's the two-parter we did last summer of the lady who was beaten over the head, kept in the bedroom for about 2 days unconscious, and then her killer threw her off the balcony onto the steps below like rubbish and just walked away and acted like and then went to bed and acted like nothing had happened. Question number 2. What was the name of her parents? It was Lionel and Lillian. Question number 3, how many convictions for soliciting did she have? It was 4. Question number 4, what was her street name? It was Olive Young. Question number 5, Ronald was born near which city? It was Manchester. Question number 6, Ronald's grandfather did what job? He was an innkeeper, i.e. he owned a pub. Question number 7, where is it thought that Ronald developed his addiction to morphine? Shanghai. I think it was 1913 to 1914 he was in Shanghai. Question number 8, a difficult one. Name one of the 2 trainer aircraft that Ronald trained in. I'll give you, if you get any of the words in this, I'll get it. You get a point. It was an Airco DH6 or a Bristol box kite. Question number 9, in which company was he briefly hired as a test pilot? it was Westland, which still exists today, I think. And question number 10, what injury did he get owing to a crash as a test pilot? He shattered his teeth. So there you go, folks. That's that. Core lummy. So I hope you enjoyed that. And also this week, there may be a little treat coming out. So there we go. Have yourself a good week, folks. Stay safe, be good. Thank you for supporting the show. It's very much appreciated. If you haven't, please do leave it a review, 5-star review. Very much appreciated. That really bumps us up the charts and really helps the podcast to survive. Obviously, negative reviews don't, but you know, that's fine. Have a good week, folks. Stay safe, be good. Lots of love. Bye-bye.